Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Bravery Cup. Woohoo! Party! Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. So kind of a funny market that we got right now. I suppose, I always like to start with sort of like risk on, risk off kind of conversations, and it sure feels like the world's, sort of temperament has turned violently here. You can even see the risk offers are just ripping higher here, and now the risk oners are actually seriously looking to roll over. And then we got our funny little Bitcoin. What the heck is it? Maybe he's more risk on. I don't know. Or, excuse me, risk off. Sure is looking more and more like that every day. But nonetheless, there is your risk on, risk off kind of view here this morning. And, well, I'm not really excited about buying gold. We had a really cool report from Julian Thursdays. Today is Thursday, the 30th of January. Thursdays are officially the baby powder report on TRI, Julian TRI principal, and it's turning into a really good trader, which I'm really pleased to see. I was in there talking about he has a trading room on the site, and they were clipping the gold market on the long side overnight here, so congratulations, Julian, and all of his followers on the site for having some fun on the long side in the gold market. I've kind of talked to you guys, me personally, recently. I don't know, man. This stuff's scaring the hell out of me up here. I suppose, when markets face rip up and they go parabolic, this is what these charts look like. Unfortunately, this just really isn't a buying window for me here. It's sort of like, oh boy, just be careful. For all the gold bugs today, you're like, hey man, vindication. And, Newmont, if it can close out at new highs here, then it busts a lot of these potential topping patterns. So that's good. The only word of caution that I would give everybody is be very, very careful trading things like the gold and the dollar. I also noticed that the dollar here is all over the place. Maybe even potentially fractaling out. Tough to say right now. But a lot of these markets, just be careful because this is actually FOMC event window. And through the daily brief, we were actually talking about the gold market in particular, that a lot of the signals in gold are actually starting to look really confusing and sort of contradictory. And so, like I said there a few minutes ago, Julian encouraged people to take some profits on his long ideas. When I saw this fractal yesterday, I was like, oh boy, hands off for me. I can't touch this. So, congratulations, Julian. Nicely done. But I would be very careful here around the Fed. I mean, maybe we can pop up and test these previous highs. That'd be interesting to see where reload short zones are in this. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so, we are up in an area where if we did see horizontal support and resistance, previous highs, reload zones, all that kind of stuff, top of value, it wouldn't surprise me if some sort of top came in here. And I'm just worried about whether there's some sort of trap being laid here with the Fed. So be careful here, everybody. That's all I can say. I haven't taken a new position in gold, either long or short. I do have a cute little gold stock on the books that has made me some pretty good money. And I'm still long, and I'm not really have any plans to touch it. That's that BGO, or what do I always call it, BGO? Alio, A-L-O. Not Ray Dalio, Alio. There we are. Bought it down here. Here we are up top. Could it come back down to these lows? Sure. Maybe we're consolidating and we're getting ready to bot higher here. Could be. But I don't really have anything new in the gold market right now. And oh boy, just gives me nosebleed central. Be careful. And again, I'm not really telling you. I never recommend any of you do anything on these videos. I'm just telling you what I'm doing with my money, and I can't be a buyer here. The interesting thing with the other risk off asset, and this one I actually did short, I actually think that, where are we here? Um, Actually, it's interesting. Oh, I see. This is a lot longer time frame. Um, so I shorted this rally against here. I do find it interesting that the bonds have done nothing more than work their way right back up into a reload shorting zone. If I had been half the trader that I think I am, I probably should have covered my puts here and then be looking to buy them back. I still have the same trade on and I'm underwater now. Way to go, Brian. So, do with this information as you please. If I actually was going to be putting on a new trade here, I actually do like the idea of hunting puts again here. But we'll see how it goes. It is interesting, if you are a bull and you're thinking higher, and Brian, you've just misread this. I think this market's going much higher. Do find it interesting that if this is an AB equals CD, notice we are at the bot level. And I used to find this as a prop trader. Mountain Man, he'd be short there. And good old Brian trading his bot, he would be long there. And he and I would just be sitting in the pits going, who's right and who's wrong? And you just don't know, right? But as it stands right now, I still have my put on. And the good part about buying a put is, maximum risk is the purchase price of the option. So the irony of it all is that actually exactly where I showed it before, that's actually where I would fully expect if this thing does top out and it is still a bear, where it's going to be a short again. And I might just go buy like a June or a September put on that event. But there is no sell signal right now. And like I said, we got the Fed right in front of us right now. What I'm kind of thinking, and I'm worried for the gold bugs, is they're going to pop this top here on that Fed announcement event, and that's going to be a bit of a trap. So that's just Brian's opinion. Who knows what the hell's going to happen. This might, it's not as big as this one. That would be this massive one. But we might just A, B, C, D our way up even higher here on the gold going forward. It's just I can't really go and buy that here. So risk off is definitely carrying the day. No doubt about that. Risk on, oil just made another new low here this morning, so I don't see any reason to look for bottoms there yet. Coming into sort of middle of February, that's when we should be thinking bottoms in oil. So we still got another week or two to go there, I think. Stock market, this is fascinating because if we believe January barometer, then, as January goes, so goes the year. And something just absolutely disconnected here mid-month. Now, remember, we had that massive options open interest expiry. I kind of think the stock market was artificially propped up into that event. I'm a little surprised that we're just seeing absolutely no follow through here following that dead cat bounce that basically went up, filled in the gap, and then we've rolled over again here. I'll tell you, this isn't looking so good for the rest of this year. And fascinating, Jupiter-Saturn cross is going to happen right around right here. So, I don't know. I'm a little concerned for stock market. I was feeling very, very uppy a little while ago, but I'll tell you, I'm not feeling so uppy anymore. I think there are individual plays, and of course, Brian, he loves his W's. So, here's some examples. I told you about this little one that I was going to buy yesterday, and I did buy down on the breakout clothesline here, and it's moving up nicely. So I'll stay in that one as long as this bottom holds. It's great to see we had some wonderful news out of Riot today. It turns out that they're not a scam. Hey, wonderful. I don't know whether the market moved violently higher on the news that the SEC has sort of given them a reprieve. Hopefully everybody can see the big W that's come in here. It looks to me like they're probably going to come back and fill this in, especially if the corn sort of backs off here a little bit. But it's just nice to see, and the whole buy when it snows, sell when it goes. It's really nice to see W's coming in. But, as I've repeatedly told you guys in the past, just because a W comes in, that's not a guarantee that the market's going to work. So I wanted to show you guys here today an example of a fail. So I did buy this on this nice consolidation breakout here. I was willing to risk down to this original double bottom and especially those lows in there. They came out with earnings today. Earnings were an absolute train wreck, so I basically walked away from the trade. Took about a 15-20% loss on my capital, and that's just a trader's life, guys. It was really, if it's one thing that is very difficult for a lot of new people that are in this public forum and kind of want to, I have a lot of difficulty with it too, is you're never going to be right 100% of the time. I've never met anybody in this business that's right 100% of the time. There'll be lots of people that will tell you that they're always right, but I have yet to see it myself. So the question ultimately, if you're going to survive at this game, is, are you going to put yourself in a position where you expect to be right 100% of the time? That's just asking for trouble. Don't do that. My plan says that I expect to be wrong 30 to 40% of the time. So here's a good example where I was just simply wrong. I really like the forestry sector, and that's the worst part about this, is when your emotions start getting into the equation. And you had said previously, I love forestry, I love this company, it's so awesome. And then the market goes and says, no, actually your thesis is wrong. Huge ego hit. You have to, in essence, in this game, strong opinions, loosely held. It's a tough lesson to learn, but the long and short of it here is I had to walk away from this trade. And I did. And I think I've told you guys recently, not all of the trades are going to actually politely tell you to get out. There's one stock, and I will sort of keep the audience informed. But there's one stock that I'm actually working an open order to get out of because my idea failed. And I just have to be patient and wait for that level. And that was on that funny little, that pharma name that I bought that just completely crapped out there, So the point of the matter here is I don't put myself into a position needing to be right 100% of the time. I do try and get out if I see determined levels that are broken and I have to get out according to my plan, and I just act without reservation. Where's that crappy little pharma stock that I bought? What was it? It was CH something or other, wasn't it? Anyway, great stalling in the free video here, guys. Sorry, I just wanted to show you the chart and just show you what I'm doing. Of course, I can't find it. There it is, CHFS. What a mess. So I'm just sitting there. I'll be patient. I've got my order working to sell. And, this is kind of funny commentary, right? Because the irony of it all is it'll pop back up here. I'll just walk away. And I've actually had some stocks that pop up. I get filled. I walk away. And they just keep going. And it's like, oh, man. But the whole reason why I bought this was this W. It failed. So I'm basically getting out. It's just the way a trader's life is. And as you can see, I've had to sit here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days and do absolutely nothing. And just work my open orders. So anyway, I want to be a guy here for this public audience that doesn't blow smoke up your ass. I'm never going to tell you I'm right 100% of the time. That's just unrealistic. I want to try and demonstrate when I am wrong, what do I do? And this is what I'm doing here. In this case, I just said, sorry, I was wrong. Get out. I don't know whether I would be encouraged to actually buy the double bottom breakout on Riot. You could if you wanted to. You can see the price is sitting there right now at the double bottom level. This might be an example where you could work some reload zones. Notice this is pretty gappy down here. You might be able to sneak in on some sort of pullback against these lows. So you certainly don't have to chase. But if you're kind of like, well, Brian, if this thing W's here, considering the upside potential, say something like that, if we actually close there, right, if you change that to like a clothesline, that's not the one I wanted to do. This one. I really wouldn't have a problem if you said, I'm going to go pick up a little bit of this if it closes up here because that's a big honking W. Right? And, has this guy got any room to come back here? I think this is just a classic example of buy when it snows, sell when it goes. But, keep in mind, you're not always going to be right. And sometimes you got to act and just say, whoop, I was wrong. Get me out of there. All right, so interesting how one of our stories was crypto related. I think crypto is actually in a pretty friendly part of the market right now. We had a great long conversation, through Julian's report about seasonality and call me crazy, Saturn Pluto crosses, changes of financial systems. I got a funny feeling crypto is putting in a long-term cyclical. I don't know whether cyclical is the right word, but a long-term pivot here. We all know, of course, Bitcoin halvenings. We've talked lots about this chart moving forward. It's interesting how we're actually starting to come up to 2-to-1 profit objectives off of risking this entire formation. Although I probably want to have that down below that low. So, no, you know what? I think that's. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. So notice the double bottom here. If you just said, look, I'm going to buy this W. Look how the 50% rule of this entire range, there is the 50% rule, 10,197, is almost exactly 2-to-1 risk reward off of that double bottom. That to me looks like a manufactured trade. Anyway, long and short of it here, higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market. I don't know whether it's a good idea to get into the habit of chasing up top here. And again, remember, we got a Fed announcement coming up, so be careful here getting too aggressive on the long side. One thing that kind of worried me off of lower time frames, and we've talked a bit about this, is the internals are starting to look a little heavy. Actually, ironically enough, I think this is exactly what's going to happen, which is so screwy. But, market symmetry, how do we work our way up into 50% rules off of higher time frames? Right there's that 50% rule right in there. I actually think we're going to do something along these kind of lines here. This is going to be really ugly. But, the interesting thing about this is that we're now in the process where all the smart money is long off the bottom. So now they can really start messing with the kids here. And I saw that happen this morning, which is really a shame. And I put a tweet out to it. Just be careful here, people. So I noticed earlier this morning, in typical Bitcoin fashion, look at this insane price action. And, what's so tragic, right, is the market's pointing up and everybody's like, rah, rah, bull. And then they just bitch slap everybody. And the market's still a bull. So what that tells me is all the margin players, lower time frame players that were hunting setups through here, this was a move to screw all them over. But the market is still wanting to point higher, and this is why I said, this is a very, very dangerous market, people. Please put this, just put the price action that you see into context. Are we at the bottom end of the range, or are we actually approaching the top end of the range? If somebody did want to put a top in this market, are we in the areas where institutional players might want to do that? I think so. And then we look at our momentum indicators, and hey, something's not right here. I would prefer to see, like MACD histogram off this daily, I would prefer to see it blast off through the top here and through these highs. I do like how OBV is turning up here, so that's encouraging. RSI is flirting up in sort of dangerous territory. If anything off the daily chart, I think we got a really good example of coming into, let's see, how do we do this? Where is the little... I guess that's what this is. Oh, you're not going to work? Oh, I got to update this chart. Where should I do this? I think I have it. Well, let's look at this one. This one's probably pretty good. All right, so remember past couple days, we've been talking a little bit about RSI is looking a little troublesome here. Something doesn't look right. I think, we had this first little M sort of pause. Interesting how we rallied back up to the top and we couldn't get through the top there. Then we came back down to this line, creating this wedge and then breakdown. Uh-oh. So interestingly enough, notice all of this. There's the 50 line way down. Actually, I guess the 50 line's there, right? So we should probably put that up here. Somewhere around that area, right? 50, somewhere in there. So all of this action happening way, way above the 50 line. And interestingly enough, not even really close to this trend line in RSI. Interesting how we're getting cute little W trying to come in now again. So we never really got the W here. But I might argue that, 1M, 2Ms, and then almost kind of like, oh boy, here's sort of like your third ME, careful. We're above the 50 line, so it's not really like a great short, but looking very heavy. And then all of a sudden, boom, we just went in and put in a W. So this is like really choppy, top of the range. RSI is above 70, overbought kind of stuff. Dangerous. I mean, not. Remember that when I did that video over the weekend, I said, oh my God, whatever you do, do not short this when you see that kind of activity, and maybe even buy some. And sure enough, Rome, right now we're in sort of like, well, it could go either way. It's not really a short, like, and if we M out here and break down through 50 line, then oh boy, we got trouble. But sort of like, okay, everybody's kind of on pause, and now we finally get a little W, back up we go. We'll probably see like a little bull signal off of like 1 hour charts kind of idea. Let's see if we have like a lower time frame. Look at that FU move, eh? Wow. That's what I even put a tweet out this morning. I said, that's what scared me. Oh boy, boo. We had that bear div in MACD. I think you can actually make the argument that these divergences off the daily charts now are floating around out there. I guess that's what this chart was, right? That was the daily chart. So, yeah, boy, I don't like that. So, and, come near the end of the move kind of idea. I mean, we could work our way higher here, but this is extremely dangerous. There's people that bought here, or the Wyckoff check, or the Wyckoff check, right? You're not buying up here. If anything, probably, I hate to say it, but I think that this little candle right here, that little FU move, was your Wyckoff check to a certain degree. But very, very late to the party, folks. I do kind of like the idea of us moving higher here. One coin that I think is just the darling of the market here, and he almost always is, it's just incredible, is Charlie's coin. He surged to new highs here, but look where the 50% rule is. It's still way up there. And now we have bull AB equals CDs projecting higher here. So, and in a weird sort of way, can you see that market symmetry for Litecoin here? Kind of suggesting just like Bitcoin has to test that 10,000 area. Looks like this sort of $80 level area here is probably that similar level for Litecoin. And like I said earlier, if I didn't say it, I actually could very easily see Litecoin hit $90 here into that halving event rally. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Problem is, can you go in and buy that there? Remember, if you buy there, think market structure, that means you got to risk down to here. We just saw what Bitcoin does. Exact same thing on Bitcoin. So be careful here, folks. This isn't for the light. This isn't for the faint of heart. This is very, in fact, yeah, I think that was a Wyckoff check there on the cash market. You can see they just brought it right back down to the breakout and then jacked it right back up. And interesting too, look how we're walking along this megaphone top here. I mean, we might just chop our way through higher along this trend line here. So, I certainly can't go and buy these. I think I told you I just banged out a double on Ethereum. I was on the sell side there. I'm not on the buy side here. If I was going to buy something, what would I be buying? It's fascinating how almost on a daily basis these things just keep coming in here. I do like the fact that things like these perp indexes are still painting higher, so that looks good. I like ideas that are trading at the bottom end of the range. Remember we showed you that VIA idea a week or so ago? Same sort of logic here with this Stratus. Come in, buy against the bottom end of the range. Does this thing have any room to move up? Well, you tell me. If this thing gets its act together, 50% rules, there's some money to be made here. So that's the kind of, and then, again, I'm not going to tell you to buy this. I'm not going to recommend you buy this, but was Brian buying in here? Yeah. So I did a little nanny nibbles. Very typical. I wouldn't be surprised. Sometimes spring, summer, we're rallying back up top, and we're talking about banging out doubles. So. All right, guys, I think I'll leave the free video at that. I sure hope I helped. Got some interesting new long ideas in the stock market working. Having to admit that I'm wrong, and when markets fail, get out. It's a trader's life. I will say that I'm a little bit leery about falling into too much of the market's message here, considering it is a Fed day, and frankly speaking, a lot of the fun and games that we're seeing in things like the gold market right now, I have a feeling it's the public that's participating right now, and all the adults are waiting for the actual Fed announcement. So be careful there on the gold, please, everybody. Okay, I'll leave the free video at that. Sure hope you got something of value out of that. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. PMA for the win. Try to play from a position of strength. All the best, and bye for now.